Viens, divi, trīs, četri, viens, divi, trīs, četri, viens, divi, trīs, četri, viens, divi, trīs, četri, viens, divi, trīs, četri. Viens. Nē?
Yes. Cienījamie klātesošie, sāk.
Dear participants, we are beginning the press conference of the ministers of Latvia, Baiba Braže, and Foreign Affairs Minister of Romania, Oana Țoiu. The press conference takes place also with interpretation, and it is going to be aired also on social media and web pages of the institutions now. The floor is given to Madam Baiba Braže. Dear journalists, dear participants.
Rumānijas ārlietu ministre.
Minister of Foreign Affairs of Romania, with whom we meet frequently in NATO formats and elsewhere and in many other places regularly. And that reflects or is reflected also in our open conversations for more than 2 hours today. We did speak about bilateral cooperation and relationship, and again Romania opens their embassy in Latvia. The relationship has been very close, and we are very glad to once again see this happening and welcoming. And so, since 2022 also we have strengthened our relationship, a very historically close relationship we have. We did speak about both bilateral bloc, both political visits and economic relations. We have Air Baltic, for example, airline flying to Romania economically increases also trade, defense industry, common interests. We have Romania is in drone coalition, and also our companies are developing their capabilities We also have common challenges on the eastern border, the outer border of EU, which is similar both on the sea, in the air, and on land. Traditional also defense challenges, and also dual use, maybe drones, underwater, and various other technologies and devices. And thanks to Romanian special pilot as Tom Cruise from Top Gun. By the way, he shot down the drone. And yes, now Romanians are famous, and we are happy that they are participating in Baltic air policing, and we have welcomed the pilot also to visit Latvia, maybe to some event or to some conference, or maybe to even be filmed somehow. Or he is very popular, by the way, has become in Romania, and there also were many headlines. Indeed, Romania has for several times already provided and participated in policing of airspace in the Baltics. Now it is the mission of air defense, and we are going to evaluate our capabilities also for the future and how it can continue. Likewise, Eastern Flank Deterrence and Defense Initiative, which together with other cooperation countries we do, also with NATO higher generals, we are developing, and this is also necessary for Romania. We did also speak about common interests and agreed on the budget and the next stage in the context of the conversations for the future regarding cohesion, competitiveness, pillar priorities, and we have been very constructive, but the last stage of the conversations is going to be the most difficult, and maybe the journalists also noticed that we did have the conversations, and next year they want to reduce 7-year budget, but it does not go together as we would like. So these conversations are not going to be easy. Also, the support to Ukraine and cooperation and working along in international organizations. We highly value this cooperation, which Romania, the help and support which is provided to Ukraine. But on the other hand, we are also encouraging other countries to ensure such level of support economically in defense area and in other areas too. Also cooperation and working together in various international organizations. And we are also going to continue such work and encourage European countries and other countries to open the export corridors for Ukrainian grain in the Black Sea and also other products which currently, so it means that Russia currently endangers the whole food situation in the world, because grain export now goes through the ports and through Romania, and it has reduced the overall export from Ukraine very significantly.
Mēģina uzbrukt.
Russia threatens ports and where currently grain is also collected. So what is related to African countries, other countries in the world, it is going to have a direct negative effect, negative consequences. And this is why within EU and within elsewhere in other organizations, food organizations, UN, Africa, Union and elsewhere, we have to have the common position. And these are the practical things we did speak about. We also did wish luck to Romania to join OECD, to join this organization of the developed countries, and we also see our cooperation to develop in the future.
Paldies, ministra kundze. Vārds Rumānijas ārlietu.
Thank you, Madam Minister. Now, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Romania.
It's a great honor to be here today to open the Romanian embassy here in Riga after so many decades. It's a sign of our strong partnership, strong friendship, but also of how we look together into the future. Bună seara, vă mulțumesc pentru prezența astăzi aici. Vizita bilaterală de astăzi și convorbirile bilaterale cu ministra Baiba Braze marchează un moment important în relația bilaterală România-Letonia. Deschidem ambasada României aici în Riga și urmează până la sfârșitul acestui an să alăturăm echipei și echipa pentru serviciile consulare. Am vrut să marcăm acest moment și în apropierea datei de 13 septembrie, în care celebrăm 35 de ani de la reluarea relațiilor diplomatice bilaterale. De altfel, avem peste un secol de relații bilaterale diplomatice. Așa cum spuneam, ne uităm împreună la prezent și la viitor. Am discutat și vom continua aceste discuții pe 3 paliere importante: securitate, economie și alinierea punctelor de vedere și a negocierilor atât în interiorul Uniunii Europene cât și în formate multilaterale. Din perspectiva securității, am agreat mai departe întărirea colaborării pe flancul estic, a schimbului de experiență, a accesului la... okay. So I've been it's okay. So the paper I've been given is we have English translation. Now I understand the wonder faces in the room. So I'm going to switch to English, and then if you will allow me, I will have 1 or 2 phrases in Romanian.
I could understand everything
for the Romanian media. But we do have a beautiful language.
Yes.
And I'm going to use that occasion to say that now in September, actually, of one of the university festivals here, we're going to have Romanian representation as well. So I'm going to say the statements again in English so the media can have access to them and the translation. Thank you, Baiba, for welcoming us today. This is an important moment for the bilateral relationship between Romania and Letonia, as we are today opening the Romanian embassy here in Riga, and by end of the year we're going to consolidate the team to process consular services as well. It comes at a moment where our bilateral relationship is focused on our key priorities: security, economic development and growth, and of course alignment when possible of our points of view and negotiations going forward in the European Union in terms of multi-annual financial framework, budget allocation and security priorities, but also our coordination at the multilateral level as we are preparing for the United Nations General Assembly, but also as Latvia has the key role in the Security Council, and we're grateful for the support that we have received when we have called for the Security Council to have a common statement on behalf of Romania's security after several drone incidents, and of course Latvia being a country that has its own experience with that, we were grateful to have the support in that process and going forward to continue to work together in your role as Security Council members. We have discussed, of course, about the security risks at the border, but also about the associated hybrid risks, as well as on cybersecurity and disinformation campaigns. Actually, one concrete example of our collaboration is when in Romania we have had one of our very important agencies, ANCPI is the name of it, the agency that has the records of all the land registry and property registry, when it has been attacked by a hacker and the services there were not able to continue. In our cooperation with Latvia on cybersecurity matters, we were able to discover that it was the same hacker and the same tactics that were previously applied to the Forestry Association here, and that has allowed for our cybersecurity teams to have faster access to information and a better prepared answer in the future for similar threats. So we believe a better coordination in terms of information access, analytic access, and coordinated response is going to help with our resilience also in how we answer to hybrid threats. And actually, we celebrate the presence here in Latvia of the NATO Strategic Center for Strategic Communication. We believe this to be very important, and we want to see a stronger engagement on our side in the future as well on that. We have discussed as well about EARC, which is the Resilience Center based in Romania, and we want to enhance our partnership in terms of crisis response and crisis preparation and resilience. In terms of businesses, we have seen in 2025 a 45% increase year to year on our bilateral trade. We believe that to be a very positive news. Actually, I've looked at the data for 2026 on my way here, and by end of May 2026, we had more than 80 million euros in bilateral trade. Of course, it's a number we can grow, but we do see potential here in terms of research, innovation, as our universities and young scientists associations have started partnerships on developing new innovations together. We do have a strong focus on tourism as well. To be open about it, we've also discussed about the risks that are posed to the tourism industry, especially at the border because of the spillover effects in terms of security risks. And in that sense, we have discussed about the focus that is needed in terms of investment and in terms of bilateral promotion. Direct flights being a significant contributor to that, and we want to, of course, support that going further. In terms of the European Union discussions and the multi-annual financial framework, of course, we have discussed our responsibility as countries that need to not just protect our own borders and the border of the European Union and NATO, but also countries that we manage the import-export trade and checks at the border, and how is it that needs to be addressed in terms of investments and budget allocations in the multi-financial framework going forward in terms of negotiations. We've also stressed the need for a stable, resilient region, and also our common support for the EU enlargement. Of course, we've discussed Moldova, Ukraine, and the Western Balkans in that process, and how important it is that we move forward in opening the clusters and having a merit-based approach to the evaluation, of course. As well as, of course, our talks in terms of the transformations that are now undergoing at the NATO level. It is very important that we do continue to strengthen our resilience, to strengthen the initiatives on the eastern flank in terms of deterrence and defense, but also both Romania and Latvia are countries inside the European and inside NATO that are strong anchors for the transatlantic partnership and for the partnership we have with the United States. We often meet each other actually in Washington as well. And we do believe that the path forward is indeed a more balanced burden sharing, but in a way that keeps a strong engagement of our transatlantic partners, because protecting the eastern border, protecting maritime security also has a direct effect in world economies. I'm now going to address, for example, the Black Sea, and we have talked about joining diplomatic efforts going forward on creating an international engagement on maritime security on the Black Sea. This is extremely important also in terms of the solidarity lanes to allow for the flow of grains. And here we're speaking about Romanian grains, Ukrainian grains, of course. And this is important because whenever we see higher security risks, or whenever we see the commercial flows not being allowed to function at the proper level, this has direct effects in the global price of food. This has direct effects in the access to food in Africa, for example, or the Middle East. We've seen this in previous years. So we're going to work together on the International Food Organization. We're going to work together at the UN level and engagement across continents to make sure we have the international support to create the proper pressure for Russia to stop the attacks that do not allow for the proper commercial flows and maritime security. We have also in Romania, together with Bulgaria, finished the concept for the EU Maritime Security Hub at the Black Sea. I'm mentioning this because we've talked today about a better exchange between the countries at the Black Sea, especially EU and NATO members and the Baltic countries on how we coordinate resources on maritime security. We do believe at the Black Sea we can and should increase our partnerships and cooperation, and we're looking at what the Baltics are doing, successfully so, and we want to increase the exchange on that. Last but not least, we've discussed about the focus our countries have on innovation, and not just innovation in the university sphere or the economic sphere, but also in our own two ministries, on how is it that we look on how we use AI, for example, but also how others are using AI, also in terms of instruments of disinformation, and how is it that we need to use them ourselves to have a better preparedness on not just how we answer or prevent that, but also how we strategically communicate our objectives, our negotiations going forward, and how is it that together we protect the interests of our countries in terms of security, economic growth, and prosperity. Thank you for the visit today.
Paldies, Rumānijas ārlietu.
Thank you, dear Minister of Foreign Affairs of Romania. Now, media representatives, if you have any questions, you may please ask. Please ask them through in the microphone and tell.
Present the global Spanish news agency EFI. The whole world is wondering what actually happened in Moscow when the head of the CIA went there. The president of Lithuania said that they would be informed next week, or now, or soon, about what's going on there. What information do you two foreign ministers have about what actually may have happened in Moscow, and how credible are these reports that Trump sent the CIA man there to tell the Russians not to attack the Baltic states?
We have agreed not to comment on that, except that the US-Russian talks among the services take place on a regularly basis. So it's for the US to comment publicly, and that's the end of my comment. I said the same today in Latvian, and I said the same in PBS interview yesterday. But we know that US journalists have received some off-the-record briefing from the CIA, so the US side should be asked. Thank you.
On our case, it's a similar answer. One thing that I would point out, though, is that what is also publicly available is that during the visit, the Ukrainians have stopped their attacks on Moscow to be able to protect the frame of those conversations. I think it's worth pointing out publicly as well that Moscow did not do the same, and they have continued to attack Kiev and the innocent civilians throughout those days. So we see a very different approach, not just, of course, to the illegal war of aggression that Russia has ongoing in Ukraine, but we do see a very different approach to protecting what is needed as days to be able to have proper conversations in safe environments.
Paldies, lūdzu, stādieties priekšā, un kurai no ministrē jūs
360 TV, Toms Zīgols.
Where the CIA leader goes to Moscow. Last time he did it was 5 years ago. So there is a reason for him to be there. Given all of that context, do you think there should be a bigger NATO presence, both here in the Baltics, also in Romania? Should we respond to the perceived threat with a bigger NATO presence in every way? Thank you.
I would start Latviski as pateikšu.
I will tell this in Latvian. So I will begin with the fact that, indeed, I would like to avoid some speculations, political or anyone. So there are speculations from the media. Please do not speculate. There are conversations and regular conversations between the services in Russia and the US. And the part that is related to what Russia and US does directly is not related to how we see the military threat currently, which we did publicly express yesterday, that evaluation of the military threat to NATO member states has not changed. There is no direct threat currently, and as the commander and the president and we have said in Latvia, all NATO countries and also other countries need to be ready for sabotage activity and other activity to uncover some military threats, because this is exactly what Russia will do. Is it Leipzig drones, a drone incident in the airport, or it was David Draugi, a storage warehouse which was burned, or other attacks? Let us remember now also murder of Skripal, actually with this mass murdering weapon. So this is what is going to happen and is happening. Also cyber attacks, information attacks. This has always been publicly. We have the Stratcom also now talking about this. Russia does train large models of AI with disinformation. For it, when there is when some kind of response or prompts are being searched or some modeling things, they need the answers with Russian misinformation already included in those large models, be it on some history, present or some war topics. And so we need to be aware of this new reality. It's not because I say so, because it is what we see. And once again, military attack in any country, it's the last method according to doctrine of Russia how to reach their goals. If it can be reached with other goals, this is what they're going to do. This is what we've seen in Ukraine in 2014. We see elsewhere, and well, this is the reality. 3-day war is now in the 5th year, with Russia stuck with 1.5 million soldiers murdered or heavily injured. And this is why, together with NATO, we have our partners, 13 other partners. We have air defense mission. This is why we have, and this is why we have additional forces in the sea to ensure that this military scenario never happens. And if there is going to be some additional evaluation and it will say that there is additional threat from drones or any attacks, there is going to be trainings and anything else, and we have the necessary powers of these institutions. And currently there is no direct military threat, but at the same time the security situation in Euro-Atlantic is definitely not safe, due to there are those activities and methods used to try to achieve their goals. Nobody is hiding anything. This is exactly what this is, the situation at hand.
It's clear that what we see are significant risks from the spillover effects from the war at our border. In the same time, we do stress that NATO is a defensive alliance, a strong alliance, the strongest in the world, I would say, in terms of military preparedness. And also it's an alliance that's getting stronger because we collectively understand that the risks themselves have increased. I would say this is the key message, and we're working on Romania's side, we're working on 3 directions. One is to be better equipped for our own defense, and that is why we are going forward at speed with the Hague commitment on increasing the budget allocation for defense. We are going to reach our 3.5% faster than we have committed in the Hague. And we see a very clear speed in modernizing not just what we procure for the military, but also our own industrial base to be able to also generate the economic input that is needed for those budgets, but also be ourselves suppliers to the defense market that is now looking not just at the prices and the proper technology, but also something that we're all looking at is time of delivery. Because what has significantly changed in NATO in the last years, and this year in particular, is that speed has become very important. And when we're looking at procurement, we're looking also at the time of delivery of those capabilities, because there's an overlap of conflicts around the world, and that of course generated an increase of demand on more or less the same suppliers. That is why, for example, in Romania, we have agreed in our strategic partnership with Ukraine to build a drone production facility and interceptors on Romania together with Ukrainian expertise, and that is moving forward through the SAFE mechanism as well. The second part of our approach is to consolidate all our partnerships inside NATO and bilaterally. In NATO, as has been mentioned, Romania also is contributing to the air policing mission in the Baltics. We have done so in 2025, we have done so in 2023 as well, and we're grateful for the work we're doing together, as we are for allies that are present in Romania for the air policing missions. I think this also creates a great learning base for everyone involved, as our defense approaches are also approaches that consider the need to adapt continuously to the challenges that are faced with these hybrid interferences. And as Minister Baiba-Braze mentioned, this information is a key factor. We have seen, for example, in Romania, and this is an analysis many other ministers of foreign affairs, especially from the eastern flank, have shared throughout the year, dedicated campaigns of disinformation that are trying to increase the fear in society. It is perfectly normal that the war at the border generates fear. That's a perfectly understandable emotion. But we do see those campaigns trying to increase the level of fear by putting forward messages that were never said, that were never put forward, by creating the idea that there's going to be an offensive reaction, which was never part of any of the statements of any of the officials, because we do treat NATO as what it is, which is a defensive alliance. And the support that we're collectively providing, for example, for Ukraine, is a support meant to increase their resilience, to increase their defense capabilities until the time needed to reach a sustainable peace, and until we convince Russia to come at the negotiation table with serious intentions. And the last thing that I want to say on this is that we are committed to increase the pressure in terms of sanctions. And something that I have said throughout the year, and I think this is the proper direction, is we need better alignment of European and US sanctions and an outreach around the globe. Sanctions work when they have a larger base of countries that join them, and we do see that they have an effect on Russian economy.
Mediju pārstāvji.
Media representatives, any more questions?
I'm going to ask about a theme that is not terribly controversial, but you mentioned that Romania has now become a transit country for agricultural products, mainly grain, coming because of the threat to Odessa and the usual grain ports that the Ukraine uses. What issues has this created for Romania? Railway capacity, and also the fact that with all of this grain flowing through your country, you are an EU country, and the EU can start saying, well, why are you exporting all of this grain? What are our farmers going to say, and all that kind of thing? How do you handle that?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Actually, Romania is one of the main grain producers across the world. We're actually the main grain producer in the European Union for a long time. And we do have a focus, of course, on supporting our own agricultural production. But that is not in competition with the support we are giving for the transit of the Ukrainian cereals. And it is also not the first time that we do it. Romania, and specifically the Constanța port at the Black Sea, is actually a strategic gateway between Europe to the Middle East and Africa. And the solidarity lanes for grains is just one example, but the entire commercial flow of Europe is affected and has a direct connection with the flow of goods through the Constanța port. And that is why, for example, we have invested in expanding the capacity at the Constanța port. We are currently having a dedicated strategy to increase the investments and international partnerships for that there in terms of railway, because you have asked. Indeed, I've just come yesterday from Chisinau. It was the National Independence Day of Republic of Moldova, and we've discussed there with President Nicu Șordan and President Maia Sandu that we've, for example, started again the delivery on train between Romania and Moldova on one border point. We haven't done that since 1999 on that specific border point. We are investing in infrastructure connections as well with Ukraine and Moldova at a speed we haven't seen in more than 2 decades, because it's strategically smart for all three countries, but also because it's needed that we do that fast now with national money and European financing instruments, so we allow for our economies to be better integrated and have a better resilience when crises arise. And one example that I would give would be the energy crisis. We have seen in every winter the need for better energy grid connections for Ukraine, but also this goes both ways. When we had our own energy challenges because of the drought and the water on the Danube not being sufficient for our nuclear plant reactors, we have been on the other end of this process, Ukraine having provided us in a commercial setup for part of the energy that we were missing at peak hours. So we do see these investments in connections, be it energy, railway, highway. We're finishing one of the highways that connects the center with Moldova and Ukraine as being essential for Europe's strategic presence there, for the economic integration, but also for resilience in any moments of challenges on those markets.
Liels paldies!
Thank you very much, media, for participation in this press conference. The press conference is closed. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now we're going to the Museum of Occupation, and I hope I see you all in the opening of the embassy. Thank you.